All right, joining us on the Bottom Line Bombs, my Eagles insider, Philly sports talk legend. Oh, I forgot to throw the banner up there. Man, Darren Degaetano. Darren, well, first of all, before you see me say hi. Go ahead. I'll allow you to say hi.
Good to see you, my man. Good to see you, CJ.
It is great to see you, Dave.
It is great to see you, man. I love seeing you.
I just wanted to say this up top, get this out of the way, because I didn't know what to call it. Because I know I call you Dago. You know,
yeah.
His name is Degaetano.
Degaetano. You just can't call me in like large public crowds. You can't be screaming, Dago, what are you doing? Oh, come on.
Yeah, and I've learned that in hard ways for sure. And again, when I refer to you too, is I never talked to you in a professional aspect like this is.
Why would we?
So around the job, did people call you Darren too? I guess
they call me Dutch.
Dutch.
Yeah. That's old news director. I had my first job in sportscasting was with WIP in Philly, and the news director, a guy named Rob Cherry, who I love him to death, but he's just one of those miserable guys. And the story is, I was being introduced to. I started as an intern. Like 3 weeks into my internship, they offered me a job as a producer. And I'm walking down the hallway, and he's walking down with a newspaper in front. I can't even see his face. Promotions director says, "Say, Rob, say hello to our new intern. This is Darren Degaetano." And he takes the paper, goes down, and goes, "Darren, no, you're not Darren. You're Dutch." Paper back up, walk down the hallway. Everyone called me Dutch ever since.
That's it.
So that's Darren Dalton, Darren Degaetano. There you go.
That's all it takes. And like I said, that guy would yell Dago. Like, whoa, can you say Dago? I'm like, yes, I can say Dago because
I think we were in Nashville once, and you might have screamed, "Hey, Dago," across the bar, and there were a few looks or something.
And I like to assure them I can say Dago because I hate Italians. So it's fine for me to say that. No, but it's great. I will not call you Dutch. I'll call you Darren. I'll call you Dago. I'll call you
whatever you want, man. I know you too long.
For sure. And I'll go down your litany too of credits. If you brought up WIP, Rob Sher. And I was thinking of a story because you've been in the Philly sports talk world forever and NFL Films and everything else. Right now, you currently produce the Mike Missinelli show. And I was just thinking of that. We went to go see you one time on a remote job when you were producing when he was working with Fredericks, the Mike and Steve show.
Yeah.
Way back, obviously.
Right.
And it was
the late Steve Fredericks.
The late Steve, R.I.P. The late great Steve Fredericks.
It's
so funny
one of a kind.
Missinelli. It was an amazing show. I used to always listen to that.
Yeah, polar opposite of human beings.
Right. He's like a hippie, and Missinelli as well. He's Mike Missinelli. Yeah,
Steve had the greatest stories ever. But anyway,
for sure. I was just saying, but we went to a remote thing. It was when the Flyers and Red Wings were in the Stanley Cup. And we're like, yeah, come see us at a Slacks Hoagie Shack or something.
With the sledgehammer?
The sledgehammer. We got a car painted up in Red Wing paint decal. Everyone gets a sledgehammer. You get drunk in the middle of the afternoon, and you whack at it, and you smash some glass. And that was the perfect Philly sports talk event.
It really was. You don't get sports talk radio now in Philly anyway. It's kind of muted. It's all muted down.
Yeah.
Like that was a great stunt. We had a car. It was 2006, maybe. The Flyers were playing the Red Wings in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Right.
And we had a car, some crap car from a junkyard, painted red, painted a half-assed Detroit Red Wings logo on the side. And anybody could come to the remote, take the sledgehammer, and take a few whacks out in the parking lot, right on Snyder Avenue in South Philadelphia. It was just that kind of stuff we did all the time.
This was middle of the day. It was
middle of the day. Yeah, it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was right. Yeah, rush hour, 95s right there. Cars whizzing by. It was great.
Oh my God.
We are the home of Wing Bowl, remember? So, those Wing Bowl is a huge radio stunt. Wing eating contest, 20,000 people.
It's an incredible That's an incredible Philly sports talk story too. Wing Bowl that started like in a Hoagie Shack, and then it's selling out First Union at fucking 6 a.m.
Dude, it went from we went from a crowd of 50 people at a hotel to selling out what's now the Wells Fargo Center, 20,000 people for a wing eating contest. You had wingettes, you had cheerleaders and stuff like that down there. So it wasn't just people coming down to watch soccer. It was a reason. It became a holiday. People would take off that Friday. It was always the Friday before the Super Bowl. Yeah. Guys would tailgate start at 3 o'clock in the morning because the show would start as a morning show from 6 to 10 a.m. Just a wild. They had to put a stop to it because it got too wild. There were fires.
Right, it got debauched, but it's what eating contest should be. And it was Philly, you know what I mean? I don't like these professional skinny guys coming in with their sabermetrics, bringing in there. This would be guys calling on, I can eat, fucking 20 cheesesteaks if I made, just making up shit. All right, come to the studio and do it. And then the ideal contest
for Philadelphia. It's
Right.
just a sloppy eating contest.
Sloppy eating
that's what we're
contest.
all
The way
about.
it should be. There's supposed to be, shame involved and all things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Well, the Eagles got good, so they had to put a stop to it. They
Eagles
started
did
that
get
because the Eagles
good.
are so bad for so long.
It's kind of crazy, right? How good the Eagles have been recently and how we expect to win now like that.
I never thought. I mean, you and I growing up, it was
Right.
always a fight. We had those couple years with the greatest defense ever with Reggie and Jerome and Randall.
Sure,
Cunningham
the Buddy Ryan Eagles, they were great, but you knew they just weren't going to get it done. You know what I mean? It was like a different level.
This era of Eagles football, there are expectations now, and more so than not, they at least come close to those expectations.
For sure. Let's get into it here. You see my backdrop. I got you there and you. Is that you and your brother right behind me?
That is me and my brother Tommy. Yeah. And one of our many Eagle games together. That's right. Stuff.
I know your family. You got the family season tickets there at the link, and of course I got JB there. Bring it home from the room. We'll get right into some Philadelphia football. Let's start off real quick. Last year, of course, you are Eagles. It started 11-6. Only with Phil. That's what I'm saying. How the expectations have changed. 11-6 was a horrible year for them last year. Now, granted, it was a different
considering they started 10-1,
right.
it was
a different 11-6. They completely quit down the end of the street, and they just and after
it was awful.
I don't blame Big Dom, but I blame kind of Big Dom. After that Big Dom beat down, they went 1-6, and they were never the same.
The people that Philadelphia idolizes at times that make their icons. It's unlike any other town. Like they got a town. Like I'm here. Look, I got my copy of for you, Kelsey Mack. He's got a goddamn magazine now. This guy is everywhere. His brother Dayton Taylor. He's got commercials. He's on Monday Night Football now. He lives 2 blocks away from me down the shore. The guy's everywhere. He's a fucking center. I mean, the center. There's not guys in anywhere. There's people that can't name another center in the history of the league.
Right.
And our center is literally, no pun intended, the center of the Eagles universe right now. It's amazing.
It's insane. It's insane. I'm sure that won't be a downfall to that. And
there's nothing coming down to that. But him and Big Dom, those guys were idolized. For
Big Dom. I mean, I do think every team should have a stereotype on their sidelines of their city. You know what I mean? Representing. But. Big Dom.
He's their mascot, Big Dom.
Absolutely. And he puts a beat down on tracksuits, and it's just
he does have a reputation, though, man. Yeah. He's like Ray Donovan. He's like the greatest fixer in the league.
Yeah, which I can't understand. More teams don't have more fixers.
I think they do. They just are more quiet about it. The Eagles like to.
They don't have golf carts with their names embroidered on it and shit like that. It is mata.
I'm telling you, man, he is front and center.
Right. So real quickly, 10.5 over 1 are their favorites to win. I think they do the East. I don't think, obviously, there hasn't been a repeat since the Eagles in 2004, which is 20 years. Yeah. Which is pretty insane. 20 years since there's been a repeat divisional champion for a division with 4 teams in it. Yeah, particularly because the Eagles have been pretty damn good. And they haven't managed to win the division 2 years in a row, despite going to the Super Bowl twice in the last, 7 years. So the fact that they haven't won a division back-to-back. I do think they'll win the division this year just by default. Right. The Cowboys are going to go backwards. I do think Washington, that quarterback they got out of LSU, I don't know if he might be a year or two away, but I think he's going to be a dazzling star in the NFL. Yeah, no, he looks great, and especially his rushing. I mean, I think the difference between him and Caleb is not much at all. No, not at all. And I think Daniels, at least I'm not sold on Caleb's mental stability yet. I saw. Yeah, I can't imagine. I think he's going to do great in Chicago, though. And I think Chicago needs a zesty quarterback like him with the fingernails painted like that, just to calm. They've never had one, right? I mean, they had Justin Fields for a year, but he couldn't throw the ball forward. No, absolutely not. So 14-1 to win a Super Bowl isn't too shabby. Actually, there's a lot of teams above them, but I think the Eagles have a great, solid chance to. I don't know if I'm playing that number, but I expect a big bounce back year for the Birds. I think they're. I mean, I can't see them winning the Super Bowl. There's just too many superior teams in the AFC. Getting there, I think it's possible. I think if you look at the NFC as a whole, you got the Packers. In the North, you got the Lions in the North. There's nobody in the South that's going to threaten for the conference this year. And you got San Francisco out West. The Rams will be better. I don't know that they have enough to make a Super Bowl run. So you've got 3 or 4 other teams
only to contend with in the entire conference. But then you look over in the AFC, and it's just
the AFC is brutal, but the NFC is pretty top heavy. I think you're either in Detroit or Philly's camp, and then San Francisco is just who they are. But let's get into the changes. Of course, we have Sirianni, which is funny. He's 52 to win Coach of the Year, 52-1, and then 15-1 to get fired first, which is like he was a classic Philly story too, where like at first like fuck him, then they go to the Super Bowl, and then we love him. And then took 1 year. He's kind of this. I never liked him. You can't argue with the results. I don't like the way his eyes are that close together. I didn't like the whole fucking thing.
I get mistaken. I've gotten called. Hey, I've gotten told I look like him probably a half dozen times. Once in Key West of all places.
I hate how he wears his hat like this too. I don't like this whole
too low.
I don't like this whole brat era of coaches too.
No, it's funny. Like head coaches and these offensive guys, they're all clean cut, tapered, well dressed. And then you look at the defensive coordinator, all disheveled, shirts untucked, their hairs have been combed in days. Right. They all look like Reuben Frank, who's a local Philadelphia guy. If you know,
yes,
he is, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. But anyway, but the big thing with Sirianni is how much power that's the big debate. How much control? What does he actually do here? You've got two new what would you say it is you do here? But he has two new coordinators. Kellen Moore, everybody's excited about him.
Right.
Here's the two things I like about him. Yeah, he uses a lot of pre-snap motion, which dead last in last year. And he likes to throw the ball, one, to his backs, and two, over the middle of the field. The Eagles were dead last in using the middle of the field last year on offense. Right. And that's 60% of the field. So the offense last year was it had no rhyme or rhythm to it. I didn't know what they were trying. I didn't know what the hell they were from week to week.
Right. They blamed Brian Johnson for it. I don't think it was all on him, but he obviously was not ready for the job. And plus, he had to go back to the lead singer of AC/DC.
Yeah, dude, I love the picture of him up there for Brian Johnson. It's solid.
And the defense was an absolute mess. I mean, put Matt Patricia up there. Does Matt Patricia have naked photos of every coach in the NFL? How does he keep getting jobs? He's the most hated man, I think, in sports. And they're like, you can call the plays for the Patriots on offense. Like, what? I've never done. All right, sure. I'll call defense, whatever.
The only thing that it reminded me of was when Andy Reid promoted his offensive line coach. I think it was his last year in Philly. And this was a sure sign that Andy was checked out and needed to move on. He couldn't find anybody to hire. Nobody would take the job for his defensive coordinator. He needed a new defensive coordinator in his last season with the Eagles. Nobody would take the job because anybody of quality said to him, Andy, you're not going to be here next year. Why am I going to take a 1-year job with you? So he ended up just promoting his offensive line coach, Juan Castillo, to defensive coordinator. You take the job, Juan. Right. You face defense all the time. So why not? But but Big Fangio is a guy they brought in for the defense right now. He's an old school guy, surly. That's a name they like to throw around for a guy like him. Reminds me a lot of, speaking of Andy Reid's guys, Jim Johnson, who was the defensive coordinator for years here, beloved. But Fangio, I mean, if you look at his defenses, they haven't ranked higher than like mid like 16 or 15 over the last 7 years of his career. Yeah. So he's one of those guys where you wonder if the game itself has passed him by. What
I like about Fangio, and I will say this, he prevents big plays and he's good at stabilizing defenses. And I think that's what we need, because our offense is so great. They just need a defense just to keep them in the game. Just fucking don't give up these monster plays and go left and right and get ripped apart. Just have a middle of the road. That's all we want you to be, is be mediocre.
Yeah, I totally agree. And a lot of people are really high on the Eagles offense. I mean, for me, there's a big question. If you look at all the rankings, right? First of all, you've got a borderline all-pro at both wideouts. You've got a Pro Bowler at tight end. You've got Pro Bowl offensive linemen. Even without Kelsey, you still got 3 Pro Bowls. Lane Johnson's an all-pro on the offensive line. Right. And yet you never see the offense itself ranked in anybody's top 10 right now. And that, I agree with, for this reason. I'm not sold on the quarterback. Jalen Hurts had one phenomenal. I thought he was a bolt lock for MVP when they went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. But if you look at his career, at least at the pro level, that's the anomaly. He was really struggled his first year. And last year, like, he fell off. I mean, he was started off strong and just really fell apart. Dead last against the blitz. That's not too good.
Not great.
Bottom quadrant, not great. He was dead last against the blitz. And I mean, that's he was horrid at times and hard and tough to watch.
Yeah.
And the other thing with him, unless they're running an RPO style and he has his legs, he's not effective. He's not a pocket quarterback. He's not going to sit back there and pick you apart.
No.
Now, maybe he grows more under Kellen Moore. I'd like to see a little bit more of that. But as far as I'm concerned, unless he has his legs and has that threat in an RPO fashion,
fair enough.
I'm not worried about him that much. If I'm,
I think he was definitely banged up a little bit too. So I'll give him some of the benefit of the doubt.
I believe so too.
I will say he's an interesting thing. First of all, look how smooth he is. I mean,
he's an alien. First
Jesus
of all,
Christ, dude! Like
every time he talks, you wonder if he just got out of bed.
Oh my God, he's like in an Essence magazine fucking model. I mean, he's just he's
a physical phenom.
Yeah, he really is. You got to love Jalen Hurts. But he was interesting because early on, like he's such a good guy and everyone roots for him, but he wasn't a great quarterback. And Philly's always been the opposite. Like we're rooting for you as a person, but as a quarterback, you're not so much. And that's always been the opposite of what Philly does. And then he became great. He kind of just willed himself, that unbelievable MVP year. And then of course, I think, then I will go blame it Ben Johnson. They went from second overall DVOA offense, like 14th, and they were just running like quarterback draws on 3rd and 8. It was just terrible.
Yeah, there was nothing, and you had you had him like waving off the play call at some points. You know, him and AJ Brown just doing their own thing. You run this pattern, I'll just throw it to you downfield, interception. Like for example, at the end of the Seattle game last year, people remember that last drive they're going down to tie the game, and plays would come in. And Jalen would be like, nah, I got this. I'm going to draw plays up in the sand with
I know, right? They designed it themselves. Now, I wonder how much that was. AJ in his ear, and there was like, fuck it, who cares? This season.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Like that's the other thing. Like I like Nick Sirianni, but a head coach there, a good head coach,
doesn't allow
takes control of the situation. It doesn't allow any of that nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what is this? Any given Sunday? They're like, yeah, he's just drawing up his own plays in there. Like, and like, what? Like, how would you not know that? First of all,
yeah.
What are you calling it? That doesn't look like us.
Yeah, right. I thought you called an inside trap. Why is he throwing a 40-yard dig pattern?
But as far as players, they are loaded. AJ Brown, 25-1 win offensive player of the year. Saquon. Now Swift was a lot of. I mean, say what you want about DeAndre Swift. He was the offense last year. He had 12 yards. What was it? 6 touchdowns, whatever. I mean, Saquon didn't have those stats, but he's an upgrade because he's Saquon. It's the first time he's going to have an actual offense to run behind.
Yeah.
And, of course, he's injury prone, but he's still pretty young, which is.
I thought Swift ran well. I thought Swift ran like he had fresh, young legs.
Yep, I like Swift.
So do I. If you look at his career, he doesn't have a whole lot of mileage, only because he has had a number of injuries.
Right.
And just seems to be one of those backs, even when healthy, that he was just a little underused throughout his career. Barkley is a huge upgrade. You're talking the total package here. Can catch the ball, can block, can level guys, picking up the blitz. He's a smart player, and he runs like the wind. So, a lot of people think that's going to take away from the vaunted tush push that the Eagles have become.
That is a big word. Kelsey's gone. The tush push. I mean,
what are we going to do without the tush push? What are we going to do without it? But we'll see. I think. A lot of teams. It's Kellen Moore, though. One thing about him as well is he likes to throw to his backs. I mentioned that earlier.
Yes.
So I think you're going to see, if you're a fantasy guy. I mean, Barkley is a dual weapon. I would say he's probably a top. His
receiving total on the year is 305 yards, and I think that's a gift.
Wait, that's the over/under?
Over/under 305 receiving yards.
He'll do that in October.
That's what I'm saying.
300 yards. He's going to have a couple 100-yard games for sure.
As long as he stays healthy. Receiving.
As long as he stays healthy, yeah, exactly.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into that defense. Like I said, I kind of like the defensive talent, the old Jerome Brown helmet, by the way. Put that in there.
I love that. They wore that in the Saints game in the playoffs back in '92, I think. And they won. They came back and won that game.
Absolutely. No, I'm excited for Bryce Huff coming over here from the
Are you?
Yeah, because he's a pass rush specialist, but I think you won't be able to double him or anything. With Jalen Carter and Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, he's going to be able to do what he wants out there.
He might. Here's the thing. Look, he's one of those guys. The Eagles like to do this often. They take a guy in his second contract if they can get him, who they think is about to,
explode.
Blast.
Yeah, get him early. Get him the ground floor.
They're very clear. Like they've been open about this. Like if I wouldn't be saying much about this if I were them, but they're still rolling with the. He's not an every down player. Well, you're telling offensive coordinators that if he's in the game. Or he's only in there to rush the base. He's in there to do one thing. He's one dimensional, and that kind of makes it easy at times. So maybe if he's not a run specialist, you run to his side. Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, you're going to see a lot of quarterbacks check off and run right at Bryce Huff. You're going to see that early and often. My biggest question mark with this team, and I feel like with the exception of the Super Bowl year 2 years ago when they had 70 sacks and almost set every record in the books, every other year it's where the hell is this team going to get a pass rush from?
Yeah.
They haven't had – are you going to give me Josh Sweat again next year? Like, these guys are just guys. Jalen Carter, they're moving him outside. He's going to see a lot of snaps from the defensive end spot. I like that idea. I just hope he can have enough speed to keep up with that. It's a little bit more challenging in terms of your legs. Right. So it's power, but you got to have speed as well. Jordan Davis is a big question mark right now. He came in, this is his third year. He was the big guy from Georgia. He was drafted 2 years ago. He played about 7-8 games, ran out of gas, came back last year, trimmed down, stronger, looked great. He gave him 6 games, fell off the mat. So, they need more out of him. They just do. He's too important. You got another first-round pick in Smith. The other Georgia, was it
Nolan Smith? Yeah.
Nolan Smith from another Georgia guy. I feel like they drafted every Georgia defensive player for the last 4 years. He doesn't look ready to play the game. He looks light. Nakobe Dean still looks a little light, although Dean's a smart player. But him and Smith, they just don't have enough lead in their ass. So that's a concern.
For sure. Now, they did draft 2 D-backs. They were terrible against the pass last year. I think they'll be much better with Slay. And then they got
brutal.
A couple rookie years, Quinn Williams and Cooper DeJean, a white cornerback. I can't imagine those jerseys aren't not selling out off the shelves.
In Philadelphia?
Philadelphia.
Jersey? No.
I love when you still see a Kevin. I still love when you see a Kevin Turner or a Terry Hogue.
You'll see a Mike Reichenbach every once in a while still. I mean, Philadelphia loves their white defensive players, as but Sean Bradley. Look, I would never have taken Cooper DeJean with that pick. I would never have taken him at all. He's a safety. They already have him on the roster. His name is Reed Blankenship, as far as I'm concerned. This kid might be a little bit more athletic.
Yeah.
But, they took him really high. I know he was touted by a lot of people. I get it. I don't know that his body's going to be able to hold up. He already has a soft tissue injury. He nursed a hamstring, was out most of training camp. Look, I'm rooting for the kid. But it's a little high to take someone who's a safety at best for me, unless he was a rock solid. He's not with the Earl Thomas type. But Quinyon Mitchell, though, I think is going to play. Darius Slay looks great. He looks fresh. James Bradbury still on the roster, had a ankle injury last Wednesday, so he'll start the season on IR. Right. For those that don't understand, teams do like to hide players instead of cutting them. They put him on IR for the first week of the season. They do like him. He's a good leader. He's a smart player. He teaches the young guys. But I think
if anyone wants to give us a 7th-round pick and footballs for him, our phone calls are open.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. So they got a lot of guys like that right now around. Here's another thing that I'm not really wild about. All the roster cuts that they made, no one took any of them, and no one heard of their names.
That's not good.
So depth is an issue for the Eagles.
Is Cooper returning kicks for them?
I would no. They've got Britton Covey. He was the top punt returner in the league last year.
Another one. Sorry, Cooper. We got our white return slot already filled.
We already have Wes Welker on the team, Cooper.
Yeah, for crying out loud. That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. But,
so we'll see. They're good. I don't think they're great yet. I mean, defensively, there's just so many question marks, and a lot of people think anymore that defense is just a luxury. I don't.
Yeah, that's true. That's modern football for sure.
It is. But if you look at the great teams last year, I mean, the Chiefs won with defense.
Chiefs won with defense 100%. San Francisco's defense is amazing, except for down the stretch.
That's 3 of your top 4 teams right there that completely won with defense. So, we'll see. They got to improve on the defensive side of the ball. They might be a year or two away from making a legit Super Bowl run. But you're right. They are loaded on offense.
They're fucking loaded. All right, let's get to the schedule real quick here as we wrap up. A couple of the best Eagles of all time, Dirty Waters and Chuck Bednarik's hand.
Yeah, just his hand. Everything else, but his hand, yeah.
Do you remember in the RIP Andre Waters, of course, but it's easy to see. But do you remember that Dallas playoff game when he had like a broken leg and he put a Bible saying on masking tape on his forehead? There's something about revenge, We're like, oh my God! I'm like, we're gonna fucking kill him. And Emmitt Smith ran for like 200 yards on him. He couldn't move out there.
And Andre Waters was one of a kind.
He was the
man.
best.
He really was.
Absolutely love Andre Waters.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's start off with this opening game in Brazil. Why is this game in Brazil? Who asked
so
for
ridiculous.
it? Brazil didn't ask for it.
No. Brazil didn't want it. They tell everybody, don't wear green. God forbid, it's going to cause trouble, to the point where the Eagles have a special uniform. They're going to wear black helmets and white jerseys, no green.
Oh my
They
God.
chose two teams that their colors are green. Like,
I mean, green isn't in the name of their fucking city, for crying out loud. And the Packers, what are we doing here?
But yeah, the Packers are, by the way, the Eagles are only the 6th youngest roster. They're a young team. They did a lot of turnover this year in the offseason. They're the 6th youngest. Packers, I believe, are the youngest roster.
Yeah, Packers are the youngest for sure. They have like
and,
7
and they're coming on. Jordan Love looks like he can play for real. It's going to be a tough week 1 for them, especially because the Eagles don't play any of their starters in the preseason. Their first 3 games of the year, every year, at least under Sirianni, are in essence exhibition games. So I think they're going to struggle in week 1 against Green Bay.
I think because it came down to 3 games, it seems like a lot of teams didn't really care. It was like only the Bears and whoever played them because they're on HBO and like this is going to be on film forever.
Exactly. Yeah, it's going to be the first few weeks, and the NFL to me right now over versus last year, you know, other years and decades, it's a bad product right now to me. I think it's watered. There's a lot of positions that are really watered down. You're going to see some bad football the first 3 weeks in the NFL this year. Right.
Speaking of hard knocks, of course, you were telling me earlier, I know you worked at NFL Films.
Yeah.
That was beautiful South Jersey and Mount Laurel, New Jersey.
Mount Laurel.
Yes, right by the Grand Prix racetrack.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, well, I produced Hard Knocks for several years. I had a couple Sports Emmy nominations.
Yes, nominated for Sports Emmy. We, of course, have Lieb Schreiber come on and recap the Chicago episodes. And you have firsthand info. We love Lieb, of course. And,
I love that gag you guys have going. He is that is the greatest thing what you do with Lieb Schreiber. I laugh my ass off every time.
And so you worked with him. You were telling me before that you saw his progress from his rise to riches in his wardrobe and
as a man. Oh yeah, like Ray Dininger, who is a Pro Football Hall of Fame writer.
Love Ray Dininger.
He's an NFL historian. He and I would talk about this all the time. Like when we first started working with Lieb, because now he's like the voice of HBO. Period. He's a hippie. He was raised by his hippie mother in Soho in New York. He would come to the recording studio in New York on his bicycle with like Converse chucks, like your typical hippie outfit, knit hat, army coat from I. Goldberg, and old pants or jeans, ripped jeans, and Converse Chuck sneakers.
Yeah.
By like my last season, I worked there for 7.5 seasons. By the time I left, he was showing up. He was Ray Donovan, black suit in a limo. We go out to dinner. He ordering like fine drinks. So like this, I literally watched this guy grow up from a kid to a man. But an interesting guy, super nice guy, but yeah, the evolution of Lieb
He's amazing.
Schreiber.
We're fascinated by him. The way he forces those metaphors.
And the pattern. Yeah, that's NFL Films. They write so visually, and he does that pattern. It's just fantastic.
Oh, that's interesting. You have an insider. Does he write who writes the copy of that?
Producers wrote it. I wrote it. Ray wrote it. Yeah, he just reads. So you sit in a recording studio with him, and you have the video footage. It's already been edited. And you sit next to him, and he has the next line, and you just basically give him a tap on the shoulder. And then he reads the line.
Yeah.
And then you say, "No, hold up. I need a little bit slower. I need a bit faster." They roll it back. They do another take, tap on the shoulder, and then when to start the next one, So that's how that works. It's pretty, unless they have a new style, way to do it now.
No, I'm sure. I don't think it's changed in a year. So you've written some of those scripts then.
Oh, written. Yeah, we were nominated for writing and producing.
I love it. Yeah, he's an actor. You got to whap him on the nose with a roll-up newspaper or something.
Yeah, you got to hold his hand.
All right, so I think they beat the Packers in Brazil in this game that nobody wants, but they can definitely lose it, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's just a bizarre. When did they go down there? They last week.
They'll probably go. They're not going to be there long. I would say the game's Friday. They'll probably. It's a long flight, I think. So
it's not.
I would say they'll leave
flight.
Wednesday.
It's not even in Rio, right? It's like in some they're just do not leave the hotel. This city.
Yeah, they're right. Which is just a wonderful to tell tourists to come down. Come on down, but don't leave your hotel. Go right to the game, and wear a bulletproof vest. But I mean, yeah, I think they'll fly in like Wednesday, and I would be surprised if they didn't take a red eye home after the game.
So it'll be bizarre.
In and out.
Yeah.
Very bizarre. They're talking about the NFL's, they want to expand. I read that they were looking to expand to a game in the Middle East. Good luck getting teams to agree to that.
Yes.
Good luck getting a fan to say, maybe we should go over to, I don't know, Afghanistan and watch it. I'm just not going to be Afghanistan, but like no one's going to go to that area of the world. But the NFL is such a cash cow and so greedy. They want to have games in every country and every continent on the planet.
Hand out at every opportunity they can. They do not care. It's on streaming on Tubi and Peacock and wherever. I mean, it's ridiculous.
No doubt. But if I have to say, I think they're a 10-win team.
10-win team. Looking at this schedule, the schedule is kind of backladen. They start off okay because they go through that NFC South. At Atlanta, Monday Night Football might be tricky. Saints and Tampa. I know you going down to that Saints game?
I was going to go.
Team?
I was supposed to go down, but I will not be in New Orleans that weekend. My trip I had to cancel for family stuff last minute. What are you going to do? Right. Kids, they ruin everything.
They do ruin everything. I'll be going to the Rams game Sunday before Thanksgiving. Out here last year was the same thing. It was kind of great.
Yeah.
You know how Eagle fans traveled loud.
Oh man, it's going to be all green. That whole stadium.
It's pretty amazing. But that's a tough stretch there. At Dallas, Washington on Thursday night, at Rams, and at Baltimore.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's a 4-banger.
It really is.
For sure. But it kind of gets towards the end. A
lot of night games too. I'm old now. I like the 1 o'clocks. I like to have my feet up on the coffee table or about to have dinner for the 4:30.
Well, you would love it out here in LA. 10 a.m.
I know.
It starts off. I mean, it's great. You are done by 4. It's amazing.
It's the greatest. Yeah, the night games out here are the worst because it doesn't matter. You still got to get in the parking lot by 6 o'clock in the morning, and then by kickoff you're mangled or exhausted, one or the other, or both.
All right, so 10-win team, win the division, and get bounced out by
the Rams or something in a wild card.
Yeah, it's never something like great. It'll always be like that Tampa Bay game was perfect last year. Of course,
really
Baker Mayfield runs it up like it's this fucking Eagles.
The Eagles got Baker Mayfield a contract.
Yeah,
think about
good for them. They're playing the long game. The Eagles.
Sure are.
We're gonna lose to every terrible quarterback. You're all picked. You're all locked in the contract.
Playing possum. Yeah, that's great.
I got so Brandon Ayuk signed yesterday, and you are my NFL authority as it came from your bio. Make sure you follow Darren Degaetano on IG and X at Darren Degaetano. By the way, I put also in your bio the footwork expert. I like when you break down quarterbacks on X. You're like good kid, good feet. You're always breaking down the feet, so you're a footwork expert in my mind.
I appreciate that. Got to keep the upper half of the body separated from the lower half of the body mechanically.
But the hated 49ers signed Brandon Ayuk. Is the salary cap real? What is going on over there? They have,
I don't get it either. I say it all the time. We say it about the Rams a lot, particularly because they would trade every pick away for a high-priced veteran. The good GMs right now, the Eagles have one at this. I don't think he's a good GM overall, but he is the best in the league at contracts and manipulating, maneuvering the cap.
Mm-hmm.
There's ways to hide money. There's ways to push money out, make avoidable years. So I haven't seen the nuts and bolts of that IU contract. The only thing you ever look at is the guaranteed money. So it was 120-something million. It was 76 million guaranteed. That's the contract.
Yeah, that's the contract. It was just so funny. They're like, well, we can't. The reason why, why is he going to go? The Niners are like, well, we can't afford him and Purdy and all these guys. I'm like, all right, makes sense. Then they're all right, fuck it. You know what? Let's just do it anyway.
Exactly.
These contracts mean nothing. This cap means nothing. It's just a fake thing we say.
Totally.
Which I'm all for. Anyway.
Just words.
Right. All right, Dago, thank you for joining us. Anything else you want to tell the C-generates out there? I see your whole wearing a bottom line
bomb sweatshirt. This is from the Darren Atley collection. He has his own line that he designs for you. So
fantastic. I'm also going to send you a Dago Dimes T-shirt for Tommy
Gotta
DeVito.
have that.
I mean, imagine if Tommy DeVito was on the fucking Eagles. I mean, enough with but I mean,
he would be half glorified and half just destroyed, like made fun of on a daily basis.
Right. But they'd also build a statue of him bigger over Nick Foles' statue, I think.
Over Rocky. Yeah, DeVito Rocky down here.
The motherfucker. I don't. All right, you can also tune into the Mike Missinelli show, which you produce everything. And shout out
Bet Rivers Network. There you go.
At Bet Rivers App. There you go. All right, there you go. Thank you. Appreciate it, buddy.
CJ, love you, buddy. See you soon.
All right.